Ladies and gentlemen, Mark 4 says, a sower went out to sow, and he threw some of his seed, and some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured them up. Some fell on stony ground, where it wasn't much earth. Immediately they sprang up, but because there was no depth in the earth, when the sun came up, they were scorched. Because it had no root, it withered away. And some fell among thorns, and thorns grew up and choked them, and they yielded no fruit. Others fell on good ground, and did yield fruit that sprang up and increased, brought forth some 30, some 60, some 100. This parable is about sowing. Someone may say a word to you. It may be a word of love, and you may even receive that word. But if your heart is not in the right place, you may receive it for a season and then it will go away. But if you do receive it fully, in time, it shall be reflected in your actions, and it will bring forth fruit or be made manifest. And when I talk about actions, I'm not talking about fruitless actions. There are actions where you have good meaning behind them, but they don't produce the results that they should. I speak of this in spiritual terms. Love, when it is fully manifested, transforms people, heals people. I mean, physically heals people. Somebody who's sick, you could just lay hands on that person and that person will be well. Love's a thing that can restore relationships, yes, but it can also bring people back to life from death. People who are dead, they're dead physically. They can live again because of love. Love is a very powerful thing, but it can only be brought to fruition physically and literally. You can feel the effects of love in a very tangible way only when you've received it and allowed it to grow inside of you. Which leads me to my next point. In discussing Wonder Woman, I made some comments about James Cameron's comments on Wonder Woman. And someone who is, and I'm being very honest with you guys, he calls himself the thinking criminal, came with some very, very awful comments on my channel. And I'm singling him out so that all of you who are listening to this video, you will know who this guy is. I'm not playing. I did curse him out. Cursing out people is not right, but I wanted him to know in all uncertain terms, as clearly as possible, that what he's doing is wrong. Not only what he's doing is wrong, but he should be embarrassed. The guy never watched Wonder Woman the movie, but he had the audacity to come up on my channel, not only try to curse me out, but then have conversations with other people to defend James Cameron's atrocious statements. And I say his statements are atrocious. They're sexist and they're atrocious. I want to say that to you guys, that if you're going to come spreading division and hate and sexism, don't come on my channel. Don't speak on my channel. You see anyone doing that, let them know that with uncertain terms, okay? There's a reason why social media lashed out at James Cameron for his reckless, wanton statement. It's because when somebody says that Hollywood is going backwards, and the way he wants to promote his movie, which is Terminator 2, to an era where women, yeah, they were gritty and tough, but they were following the same sexist tropes of Hollywood. He wants to go back to those days. He wants to relegate characters and women and criticize and condemn women directors who are putting forth a certain portrait. That's not allowed. You must not be silent with these people. The guy's a chauvinist. And to think that this guy calls himself a thinker. Hate makes people, and I'm putting him on blast. I will not spare a moment to put this guy on blast. I will blast him forever. I want everybody to know him, to know and single him out. Okay? Anywhere he goes, the mark of Cain must be on him. until he repents and he turns around from that attitude. Because it's that reckless, dangerous attitude that Donald Trump has. Hey, by the way, I just wanted to say something positive about Donald Trump. I'm so happy that he went down to Texas and actually visited flood victims. He didn't show any empathy. He didn't show that he cared, but at least he sounded like he had a plan. And he's about something. And that's the first time I've seen him actually behave presidential. I just want to say that about Donald Trump so that people will know I hope and pray for the best. I hope he does good things. He's even made a couple good speeches, whether you're reading from a teleprompter or not. He's done some atrocious things, liberating this dude who is a blatant racist, but sheriff, wherever he was. But even so, in the midst of the atrocities, I still try to find something positive to say about the dude, okay? So you guys can understand, because he is the president of the United States of America. Now, having said all of these things, I want you to understand certain things are unacceptable. And you guys need to stand up, just like how Twitter and the entire social media came down on Joel Osteen for what his church was initially doing. We need to stand up against certain people who profess one thing and they do another. And no, you shouldn't curse them out like I'm doing, so that's wrong. But nonetheless, I felt so very strongly that I just had to let this guy know that, especially after I exposed him, I needed to let this guy, this thinking criminal dude, know that what you're doing is not admirable at all. This is not an academic issue which people are not affected by. That's a statement by a very influential person named James Cameron in Hollywood, promoting backward movement from the progress of the feminist movement, and not only the feminist movement, but equality. And not only equality, but fair play. And so when I see Gina Davis, who acted in Thelma and Louise, wanting a part in Wonder Woman 2 because she understood how important that movie was. And then to hear James Cameron, who's a man, of all people, if it was a woman that said it, I'd say she was still trying to get attention. I know there are a number of women in media, certain places in media, who have been against Wonder Woman from the beginning and against the Wonder Woman movie from the beginning, and have been saying negative things. But even when they do say negative things, which are counterproductive, at least they're a woman saying it. You know what I mean? They should know what is happening in the industry and how the industry is changing from what it used to be. And I appreciate Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron has done a lot of movies. She's done a lot of really incredible stuff. She did last Mad Max Fury Road and just recently Atomic Blonde. And she's covered different roles. Charlize Theron is not a gay person, but she played the role of a gay spy. Okay? Again, we have all kinds of people in this world. I have no problem with it. I'm just saying that she's been as forward-thinking in how she gets into roles in movies that's the thing we want. She was in a gritty role. She was in Monster. And Charlize Theron had nothing but praise to say for Wonder Woman. Why is it that this dude, James Cameron, has to be a dickhead and come out there and say these atrocious things, and he's not right about a single one of them? Even the objectification of an icon is not true. Wonder Woman wasn't objectified in that movie. If anything, Wonder Woman was the antithesis of being objectified. Especially in the manner that James Cameron's trying to say that she was a sex object. She wasn't. Almost all of James Cameron's characters, to get appeal, have been sex objects. Almost all of them. He hasn't played the sex card like other movies have. He didn't do like Michael Bay, and put a woman that looks like a sex object. I get what people are saying. He's not as blatant as that, but clearly he's done it. He's done his little sexy pieces inside of his movie. So I don't get it. He's done it in Titanic. He's done it in Terminator 1. He's done it in Alien. He's done that. So yes, the characters are not really, for the most of the movie, they're not trying. True Lies is another one. The characters are not typically going through the movie as sex objects. Correct. But he's had his pieces where he has these sex scenes or sexy stuff going on in his movies, which is just, you can't be going saying She's an objectified icon. What he means, sexual objectified icon. That is a man's, the chauvinistic version that is not feminism. He can't go saying that, and he does it in his movies. You just don't do that, man. And then he's trying to point to T2. Man, I don't know how. Man, that dude needed to get slapped. You know what I'm saying? He got a lot of clout in Hollywood, and you gonna say something stupid like that? That's what make people now nobody want to see your movies. Nobody want to see T2. You just made T2. People that love T2 and love Saint Carl, they might, man, I don't want to see a 3D piece of crap. A recycling of something from the past. Why would I want to go see that now? You just put down a movie that's doing very well. In other words, if I go to boxing for a minute, Oscar De La Hoya. I'm going to boxing. Oscar De La Hoya said Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor was a fraud. The thing does 6.5 or more million pay-per-view buys. Alright? It just broke all records for pay-per-view in combat sports. Oscar looks like a complete ass. Because what you basically saying is it's a fraud, so everybody bought into the fraud. It's the biggest box office ever, but it's a fraud. Wonder Woman's a step back. But women love Wonder Woman, right? Women love Wonder Woman so much. More women went and see Wonder Woman than men. It's a fraud, right? Wonder Woman's a step backwards for Hollywood, right? So women are going. You want to talk about Sarah Connor, T2, and how women went and saw that movie. Freaking Wonder Woman is just. I mean, women love Wonder Woman. Most of them. I'm not saying that 50 Shades of Grey was a great movie. Yes, women supported 50 Shades of Grey. That's what this dude was talking about. But it's an erotic romance movie. Wonder Woman's not an erotic romance movie. Terminator's not an erotic romance movie. True Lies is not an erotic romance movie. You can't go be talking about these things and comparing it to a different genre where you're talking about erotic movie. I mean, erotic movies are all about objectification. Anyway, my point is this. Because I am so disgusted with people who are just... People try to defend, people who talk about people trying to defend neo-fascists and white supremacists. Now we got chauvinists out here rolling up and trying to defend themselves and say, well, chauvinism is right. Misogyny is good. Women are already being attacked. Donald Trump attacked Ted Cruz's wife, Heidi Cruz. Now, for anybody who have half a brain, Heidi Cruz is a Harvard graduate. Heidi Cruz was in the Bush administration running things when it comes to economic policy. For those of you who don't know who Heidi Cruz is. It was highly disrespectful to Donald Trump to even try to compare Heidi Cruz to his wife who didn't do shit. Oh, I'm sorry. She hadn't done anything for... She hadn't covered any economic policy or anything. Not to mention, Heidi Cruz looks good for a 45-year-old woman. Okay? I just find the level of gutterism and disrespect out here. I had to put my foot down. So this dude who's called Thinking Criminal, you see him roll up anywhere on my page or anywhere on my site, he's not welcome. He's not welcome. And I'll make sure that he feels unwelcome. Don't look at none of my videos and leave any comments. Right? I don't want him on my... Until he apologizes, because he hasn't even seen Wonder Woman. Until he apologizes for what he said, don't come commenting on my page. I will rip you to shreds. I will be as uncouth with you as I possibly can. Don't come up on my page. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's talk about Patty Jenkins' promises of full-blown Wonder Woman in sequel. Now, with respect to that, she said the greatest thing about making Wonder Woman was the fact that you're rarely building to the Wonder Woman that we all love, but not until the end of the movie. The most exciting thing about the sequel is literally seeing her loose in the world now, living those classic stories. Here's Wonder Woman and what she can do. It should be a totally different movie, but a grand and now full-blown Wonder Woman in the world. So look forward to that. Besides Wonder Woman grossing over $800 million worldwide and gathering Oscar buzz for Best Picture and Best Director, Patty Jenkins says this: "It's wonderful. It's what you hope for," Jenkins says. "You work so hard on films for so long. Everybody that makes them hopes for success in every way they can possibly get it. So it felt very lucky and incredible to get both." Patty Jenkins said about the audience and critics' responses to the film, "It's actually been interesting seeing people's reactions to this, particularly women coming up and saying, 'That action scene was made for me. I don't even like action movies.' There's something about this movie that felt like it was speaking to women more than they had seen before because of the point of view being slightly different. I think that has been remarkable." And we all know Wonder Woman's just that different kind of movie. But let's get a little bit further here. Patty Jenkins and Lucy Davis responds to Hillary Clinton's Wonder Woman praise. I'm just going to recap this. I'm actually going to read through this article from the Cosmopolitan, which again was written by none other than a woman, Laura Brunstein. Okay? So women are making their voices heard. People are saying that some men are, they're playing the feminist role so they can be sleazebags and sleep with women. I'm a feminist. I'm a feminist to my soul. I ain't got no girlfriend. I ain't got no woman. I ain't trying to get no woman. It just has to do with fair play and equality in terms of treatment. Okay? So Dave the Film Junkie, you might say what you want about my boy, Joss Whedon. I'm rolling with him to the end. I don't know if he cheated on his wife, and if he cheated on his wife, that is not cool. I know it's a frequent thing in Hollywood, but nonetheless, that's not cool. Okay? But I will say this. If the dude wants to back feminism and feminist ideals, and he's a very outspoken guy about politics and other things, I'm with Joss Whedon on that. It ain't cool if you're cheating on your wife, or if you cheated on your wife. That is not cool. I'm just saying. I'm not even trying to defend the dude if that's true. I don't know how true it is. But at the same time, when it comes to directing or what Joss Whedon is doing out there, I'm cool with Joss Whedon. Some people want to hate with Joss Whedon and all of that. I'm not hating Joss Whedon. I will not hate Joss Whedon. Now we'll get into Joss Whedon in a minute. Okay, we're getting into Joss Whedon. We're coming to him. But first, I just want to talk about Patty Jenkins here. Do not mess with Patty Jenkins. Not only did her directorial smash Wonder Woman break all records for female-led feature, grossing over $800 million globally. That's cool, but I don't really look at female-directed feature. I'm looking at Patty Jenkins as just a director. She said it herself, first for being a female, this and first for being. It's kind of sad to have to hear that because she's hoping for the time when it's just the best director doing things and so on and so on. But she broke some milestones, so it's all good. Grossing over $800 million globally, and it's finally available today for streaming. Will be out on Blu-ray and DVD. This is a yesterday's article. But when Titanic director James Cameron decided to mansplain last week why Wonder Woman was in fact not a feminist breakthrough, but in his opinion a step back, she went Amazonian on him in Twitter. Well, she didn't go Amazonian on him. She just said, he don't get it. That's all she said, really. Anyway, James Cameron's inability to understand what Wonder Woman is or stands for to women all over the world is unsurprising, as although he's a great filmmaker, he's not a woman. Strong women are great, but if women always have to be hard, tough, and troubled to be strong, and we aren't free to be multidimensional or celebrate an icon of woman everywhere because she's attractive and loving, then we haven't come very far, have we? And to the point of not only thinking Criminal and James Cameron that Wonder Woman is not multidimensional, Wonder Woman is more like your average woman than Sarah Connor is. Let me just make it abundantly clear. I'll tell you why. The average woman is not tough and gritty like Sarah Connor is. The average woman is actually someone who is and has features of being caring, loving, tough. Because the average woman multitasks. The average woman is a mother, or she's a girlfriend, or she's a spouse, or she's a family leader. She's a caregiver or caretaker, because most women now are working. She's a mother, or maybe not, but the average woman is probably a mother. Yeah. And the average woman is fit. Actually, the average woman is not fit. The average woman is kind of bulky, but people don't really talk about that. You know, the skinny tropes that we see of women in Hollywood. The average woman ain't skinny like that. They're usually bigger. Okay. The average woman works hard, multitask. They have a social life. That means they have friends and family all around them, and they always in a sphere of some kind. And they linked in, tapped in, plugged into a community. The average woman is also involved in multi things, has multi skill sets, and I think the average woman today is educated to some degree. So while Sarah Connor was tough and gritty, and people say she's more real than Wonder Woman is, Wonder Woman was more real to a lot of women in the cinema than Sarah Connor is. And I'm not disrespecting Sarah Connor, because I like the character. I liked what James Cameron did with her. But I just find that James Cameron was hypocritical in what he said about Wonder Woman when Sarah Connor did the very same things. That's what I just didn't get. And to a higher extent, most of his movies did. So, being strong and gritty doesn't make you a woman. Or a strong woman, for that matter. We've got villains that have been strong and gritty. Doesn't mean nothing. Alright? No, strength of women. Women know this. They'll tell you. There's emotional strength, where you can handle more because you're strong. You can be loving, and the strongest people in the world are loving people to start with, and caring and reasonable and merciful. These are not only attributes of women, we know, but women tend to be more empathetic and more nurturing than men are. You can have as much as you want to be empathetic as a man. Women are better at it. And they're better at building teams than men are. I see. And if we look at women leaders in the world today, none of them are at war. None of them are threatening war. None of them. All of them are doing great when it comes to commerce and business and economies and getting the well-being of their nations doing well. The Chancellor of Germany's been prospering under her, doing excellent and well. She's a woman. The one who is trying to work on the Brexit to get England out of the Brexit. All the men, they backed down. The guys who were leading the command to get Brexit, they didn't want the responsibility. It was left to a woman. Want to talk about strength? The average woman is not Sarah Connor. The average woman is Wonder Woman. Because we got a whole bunch of Wonder Women out here. Women that do so many things. Not only in the home, but in the workplace. They're the driving force. So many managers and leaders. Professors. We don't see a lot of women as cheap. They still haven't moved to the highest ranks in security, in defense. We don't see them at the highest positions yet. I still don't see women high up in the ranks in the police force and in the military. We still don't see it. It's usually male dominated, which is not necessarily correct. And that has to change. And I'm just saying, women are good at all kinds of things. Just like men are good at all kinds of things. There's some things women can't do, and there's some things men can't do. Because they just can't do it. Men don't naturally give birth. Right? And women don't naturally women don't. They just don't. Naturally do certain things that men do. It's just what it is. They're different. So I hate when people say ignorant things, man. Anyway. Here's what they had to say. So the interviewer said, "Did you see that Hillary Clinton sent out a message saying, 'I also had the chance to see Wonder Woman finally. And it was just inspirational, as I suspected a movie about a strong, powerful woman in a fight to save the world from international disaster would be.'" Patty Jenkins said, "It's completely surreal. Those kinds of crossovers to the real world are surreal because there's two versions of me. There's the me that's like, wow, Wonder Woman is this kind of icon to so many people, so I'm not surprised. On the other hand, I'm like, so our film, those things we did, those people have watched? Oh my God. I'm so honored that we're being talked about in this world. Many of us loved how the film showed women working together rather than against one another. Can you speak to that? And was that the vibe off screen too? Women working together to solve problems, make things happen? There was a big female presence on set. My first thought when I got Wonder Woman, I knew Patty was directing, was to be excited to be working with the director of Monster. It didn't enter my head that you were a woman, Patty, and now I'm realizing the importance of it. There are many aspects to what women do in this film, which we thought about less intensely than people might think. As women who like other women, and grew up with a lot of girlfriends and friends, I'm not thinking about it that much when some women are tough, some are funny, some are strong, and then they're working together. I've lived that my whole life. But then so many people reflect back at us and say, we haven't seen that. And then you realize, yeah, I guess we haven't. It didn't even occur to me that no man speaks in the movie for the first 30 minutes. David says, yes, I have two sisters and one brother. The poor guy, I haven't heard him speak yet. Can I apologize to him now? You showed women as multi-dimensional characters, something that many superhero movies can't pull off with men or women. Jenkins, that's our objective. I wanted to make a great Wonder Woman movie, but I also wanted to make a great film, like Richard Donner's original Superman movie in 1978. That movie rocked my world when I was 7. It's got great actors, a good ride, an incredible love story. It's funny. It's a great movie whether you like superheroes or not. So with every scene, we were like, how do we make this a delightful, funny moment? To do that, I cast Lucy Davis and people like her who just bring magic. And they talk about the laughter on set. And then they talk about Wonder Woman being a mindset, which goes into some gay stuff, which I'm not really cool in promoting. So, I just want to share that with you guys. I know different people who come to my channel. They have different views on Wonder Woman and all kinds of views on life. And I'm cool with you guys. Because I don't hate you guys. I may have differences of opinion. I don't have a problem. It's when your differences of opinion is dangerous. It's when it affects other people's lives. I have a problem with that. You see what I'm saying? So, just so you guys will understand, I'm not here to promote hate. And I saw as hell, I'm not going to promote people coming up in here and talking nonsense about defending James Cameron's statements. His statements are not defensible, okay? There is no defense for them, and he should apologize if he was smart enough. All right, I want to go to John Campea for a minute. John Campea had this to say about Joss Whedon getting writer's credit on Justice League.
Salutations, everybody. I'm John Campea. Welcome to my movie vlog. And you know, there's been a lot of discussion and debate over how much influence, how much creativity, how much of the upcoming Justice League is actually the creation of Joss Whedon as compared to that of other screenwriter Chris Terrio and, of course, director Zack Snyder.
Okay, so I'm not going to go into all of that, what he said. He basically said that with the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild, he called it Directors Guild. He didn't say Writers Guild. I don't think he said Writers Guild. He said with the Directors Guild, he thought that there's these rules which say if it's an original movie, the additional writers have to at least have 50% of the script written, and the original writer has to have 33% at least. And then if it's a adaptation, the additional writers need to have 33%. And he was saying at least Joss Whedon should have 33% of the script. Now, while John Campea is correct in saying that, of course, correction is, it's really the Writers Guild of America that you actually have to look for this. There are exceptions. And so let me give you some exceptions where whether it's adaptation or it's an original script, we've had writers who have contributed who have done less than 33% of the script. So one example is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. And the screen story and screenplay was done by Ted Elliott and Terry Russo. Ted Elliott and Terry Russo. No, that's not the one I'm talking about. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, okay, yeah. It's The Heartbreak Kid in 2007. And it was based on a short story. But the screenplay was actually done by Scott Armstrong, Leslie Dixon, Bobby Farrelly, and Peter Farrelly, as well as Kevin Barnett. And you can see that's roughly 5 people. So there's no way each of these people even did 33% of the script, or each of these people did 50% of the script. It's not possible, all right? And my point being this. My point is this, that there are exceptions where the Screenwriters Guild will allow writer credit on screenplay. And by the way, they're responsible for writer credit on screenplay. It's not the Directors Guild Award. The Directors Guild Award is responsible for the director that's involved with the movie. Now, if you look here at Justice League and IMDb, and of course Warner Bros. Also published this, you will see that the writers for the screenplay are Chris Terrio now and Joss Whedon. Even so, Joss Whedon may not have done 33% of the script. He may have just done additional screens, which is what he was hired for. That's what he was brought on to do anyway, which was in additional writing, which Zack Snyder put him on to do. And apparently he was doing additional writing all along with Chris Terrio's screenplay. I don't know how recently, but he was tweaking the screenplay. And by the way, to get credit for doing a screenplay, you may, for instance, one person may have done the bulk of the screenplay. Okay, and we can go right up here and talk about that. Let me see here. Yes, right here, it talks about it. A writer may be accorded a story by credit only despite having written a complete script if, for example, a subsequent writer does a page 1 rewrite that entitles him or her to sole screenplay by credit. So, for instance, someone may have written the script for a story. They get credit for the story, as with Zack Snyder with Wonder Woman. But another guy, he does a page 1 rewrite of it. So you did the entire script, but this person comes back and rewrites your script, but he's basically using the same material you have, but he's done a rewrite of it, okay? And he gets the screenplay credit, then you get story credit, okay? Or you may, so that's one way of looking at it. Of course, Chris Terrio may have done the script, and then Joss Whedon might have been brought on board to tweak that script. And if he did, he would get credit for the script, and it depends on if he tweaked the script throughout. So, okay, this is another thing that people don't understand. Joss Whedon was brought in to do additional stuff, additional rights, or additional rewrites, okay? That's what Zack Snyder brought him in for. We know this. But suppose he was tweaking things throughout the movie. But he didn't do the emphatic 33%, but whatever he was tweaking in each throughout the movie, and then the fact that he has to do editorial work, post-production editorial work on this movie, along with Zack Snyder, is probably why they're giving him screenwrite credit. Because they have to find something to credit him, because he's doing significant work. It's still significant. It may not be the majority of work. Zack Snyder did the majority of work. He did 100% of the shooting, and Joss Whedon's doing the reshooting. But Joss Whedon is tweaking this thing. And that's very, very significant. And they'll tweak this thing all the way down till this movie comes out. And just because of that, Warner Bros. To honor Joss Whedon because of all the extensive work he would be doing with that, give him screenwriter's credit. And nobody's going to challenge that or contest it. So, bam, there you go. So I think that's what's really happening. And why I say this is because when I look at all of the actors and what they've been saying cumulatively throughout time, I get the feeling that Joss Whedon's not redoing the whole movie, but he did reshoots where he was doing some of the rewrites for certain parts of the movie and the dialogue between the characters. But it's not extensive at any given period of time, but it's a tweak to make the movie better, and he's doing possibly throughout the whole movie. Because they're looking for places where the dialogue would make more sense, and so they're trying to flush that out. But it's going according to the story of the movie. All right, and since he's screenwriting, he's probably flushing it out as it goes along. The other thing that I think people don't understand is that Joss Whedon is definitely going to be, he's definitely already involved in not only the marketing end of the spectrum with Jeff Johns, but he's also involved in the post-production element. And we already know that Danny Elfman is involved in the musical score, and he's taken over the post-production. So over from Junkie XL. It's not that you're not going to hear Junkie XL stuff, and it's not going to be a lot of Junkie XL stuff in there. But I believe that already Danny Elfman is already flowing and weaving that stuff together. And he's getting full credit for that, not Junkie XL. And why this is important is because it's these minor things that make a movie better. I just looked. I'm telling you, man, I'm all in, because when I saw that Comic-Con sneak peek, I knew Joss Whedon had made this movie better already. Okay, just his little stuff that he was doing in there. We knew, okay, this movie's going to be better. It's going to be better than what it was. Okay, so I'm telling you guys right now, I'm all in with Joss Whedon. I believe that Joss Whedon is doing, and that's why he's getting the writer credit. Okay, because those slight things that Joss Whedon is doing with this movie are going to tighten it up and make it better. So I have no problem with Joss Whedon getting writer's credit. Okay, screenplay credit. None whatsoever. None. Nil. I don't think he's doing a lot of things. Like, it's not a lot of reshoots. It's not a lot of this or a lot of that or a lot of screenwrites. I think he's doing things throughout the movie, however, that's tweaking that movie and making it so much better than it ever was before. I also believe that because he's in the post-production edits, which is a critical part of movie making, and it takes everything out of you, post-production. And plus, while Zack Snyder's behind the renders, Joss Whedon now, he's kind of that second eye, looking at those renders and be like, well, this has to be better here, and this can you get this better here, and can you get this? Because this dude goes all in on any project he's doing. So I have a feeling that Joss Whedon is going to go to the nth degree to make sure that this film is as good as it could possibly be with Zack Snyder's story and with how Zack Snyder's story to I'm going to say this again. I have confidence in this movie. I have confidence in Joss Whedon. This is not going to be like the Avengers. It's not going to be like the Avengers at all. Joss Whedon was involved in the Avengers, but that's not what you're going to see. I know Joss Whedon kind of has this light, funny kind of way with his characters and stuff, but this movie's a little bit different. It's a little bit more gritty. It's a little bit more darker. It's a little bit more serious, a little bit more grounded. And Whedon's going to do these characters justice. Okay. So, I covered everything from Wonder Woman to Justice League. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Remember, Thinking Criminal is not allowed to come here and talk nonsense. If you see him continuing to talk nonsense, let him know he's not accepted around here. He can apologize, and then all is forgiven, and you can stay and you can come in. Don't roll up in here saying a bunch of nonsense that is dangerous, okay? That's not helpful, okay? I'm just saying. You guys have a great one.